Hi and welcome to another gaming video, and in today's video I want to talk about PlayStation Vita emulation. I hadn't really given it much thought until I saw in the news recently that Vita 3K for Android is now available, and it's supposed to offer pretty decent Vita performance. And like I said, emulating the Vita is something that I'd not really thought about before, even though I'm a big fan of emulation. I love playing other systems on different consoles, and I love playing lots of different systems on one console. It just makes it really convenient. Now, first of all let's talk about the Nintendo DS, because it's a very odd console to emulate. First of all, it's got two screens, but the sticking point for that is the touchscreen. Emulating DS games on other platforms is a little difficult because some of the games do rely quite heavily on touch. If you were to use a system with a touchscreen, so if you had a Wii U, you could use the gamepad as the touchscreen, possibly the Switch if they ever bring decent DS emulation onto the Switch. But it's one of those things that really bothers me about the DS. It's gonna push that platform out because it's hard to emulate. It's hard to bring those games onto other systems because of the dual screen and the touchscreen. So games like Metroid Prime Hunter or Kirby Mass Attack on a non-touch device is near impossible. And the PlayStation Vita is also going to fall into this same sort of category. There are plenty of games that will play without touch, but the touchscreen and the rear touchpad was a big sort of selling point for the PlayStation Vita. Even Sony came up with a bit of a problem, because with the PS TV, which is a Vita that you can plug into a TV, didn't come with its own control, so you lack the touchscreen, you lack the microphone, you lack the rear touchpad. So there are some games that will not play on a PS TV, and that is going to sort of translate when you're trying to emulate that on other consoles. Obviously, putting a PlayStation Vita onto an Android, it'll have a touchscreen, so it gets around that. Not sure how the rear touchpad would work. It is something that has started to bother me, because just like the DS and just like the 3DS, the Vita is an amazing platform, but bringing in these new technologies and new innovations that then can't be replicated very easily on a different system is a bit of an odd one. I've emulated DS games, and the majority of them play pretty well. For the odd times that most games need touch, then if I'm emulating on my laptop, then you just use the mouse to click. But for anything that is heavy, it's a no-no. So it means they can't be emulated, they can't be ported across to other systems very easily, and it's going to be that generation of games that gets lost and pushed aside. And to a similar degree, so is the PlayStation Vita with its touch and touchpad games. So that's just one thing that stuck in my mind, and it's bothered me a little bit. The PlayStation Vita is going to be very difficult to emulate. On top of that, it's a fairly powerful system, and emulating quite powerful systems means you need quite powerful kit to do it. Even something like the 3DS, they haven't got emulation correct yet. It's not perfect. Well, I'm not even going to say the DS is perfect, but it's far further on than any of the others. So trying to emulate the Vita with its quite powerful specs, I suppose, onto another system is just going to add even more problems to it. It's just going to mean that the Vita is going to get pushed aside. It wasn't the most popular console in the first place, and for that to then get shoved aside because of touchscreen problems and decent specs, yeah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to be a system we're going to see a lot of emulation for. And we're now 10, 12 years into the Vita's life, or lifespan at least, and emulation is still very thin on the ground. There isn't a lot of PlayStation Vita emulation out there, so just something to think about. And I suppose in ways, on a side point, you've got things like the Wii U with its twin screen on the little touchpad, gamepad thing. Bringing those games across, if they brought some of those over to the Switch, and they have to seriously rejig them to make them work on a normal one screen device. But anyway, this video is more about Vita emulation, and I touched on DS and 3DS emulation because I think the Vita is going to go the same way because of the limitations in moving it to another system in some shape or form. So let me know if you've had any experience with emulating PlayStation Vita games, and if so, what is your experience? What system did you use it on? Was it a laptop or a phone or whatever? Let me know. Link, like, subscribe, enjoy.